So, as you no doubt are aware, if you actually stumbled across this video somehow on YouTube with my 3 followers, yay. Well, no pain, no gain. There's a new Star Trek show coming out, headed by Patrick Stewart, coming back as Jean-Luc Picard. May not be a captain anymore, Jean-Luc Picard. As he's stressed at the announcement. Patrick Stewart stressed at the announcement. So, a couple of ideas of where this is going. First, I also want to reference, put a quick shout out to Trek Yards, who already did a quick video on this. Captain Foley had a little thing about where this could be going. Musing about if he's going to be an ambassador or a private citizen going out doing Clinton Foundation type of stuff, heal the galaxy as a private citizen, use his connections and clout to do stuff, or if he's going to be an ambassador for the Federation. So that's quite cool stuff. Just look at the search Trek Yards, you'll find that channel. It has a hell of great content, especially if you love digging into ships. So check it out. So what I wanted to do real quick is look at where in the official or semi-official canon is Picard at this time, 20 years post Nemesis, and where could the story go? What's going on in the Star Trek Prime timeline at this time? What's the big thing that's going on? And so what could they use? And can they? So, because the problem, of course, anything because of the CBS Paramount split, CBS can't really use stuff from the movies. They can only really use stuff freely that first showed up on the shows. So the problem with that is that since Nemesis is the last movie that happened, and the 2009 movie has some connections to Picard that I'll get into in a moment, CBS might not be able to actually do this without asking Paramount. They'll most likely just say, yeah, sure, go for it, as long as it doesn't step into because it doesn't affect the Kelvin timeline in any way. There's really no point for them to say no, except for out of spite, which is a really un-Star Trek thing to do, and so I hope that's not going to be a problem. But it is a caveat with this idea that I have. So we have no idea if that's where they're going to go, or if I'm not a writer, so whoever's writing this has a lot more imagination than I do. But this is just the points that you can take from established canon, or at least soft canon, to use as a jump-off point. So what happened post-Nemesis? So the 2009 movie, while it's set in the Kelvin timeline, has its origin event occurs in the Prime timeline, roughly 10 years after the events of Star Trek Nemesis. So the halfway point between Nemesis and where this new show is set. So what happened in Star Trek 09 is, of course, we know that from the movie itself, we know there's this mind meld scene with Spock and Kelvin Kirk, where he explains basically what happened before he fell through the black hole and they got thrown into the alternate timeline. And that is that Romulus got destroyed by a supernova. Spock tried to prevent it and failed. So Nero is angry at the Federation for dragging their feet and causing the destruction of Romulus. That's the short gist of it. The Countdown comic is available. IDW has it on their browser. So if you haven't read it, it's neat. It's cute. The first issue should be free. So grab the first issue and then pick up the rest if you want. Give it a go. Give it a look. It's fun. So it's set 10 years after. Data is back as before. Or before is back as Data, basically. So the memory imprinting stuff they do at the end of Nemesis as this backdoor thing to get Data back if they need to, works, and he's in command of the Enterprise. Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard is ambassador to Vulcan at this point, and they're trying to kind of grease the wheels and get this project going so they can prevent the supernova, but Vulcans they don't trust the Romulans. They don't want to give them the technology because they think they're afraid the Romulans are going to use it as a weapon. So they don't really want to give it, so they drag their feet until Spock goes kind of rogue and steals the ship, and I think he steals the ship. I only reread like the first half of it. It sounds like he's going to steal the ship and do what he does in what we see in the movie, and stop the supernova from spreading all over the quadrant or the galaxy. But Romulus and Remus gets destroyed. So this is also this jumping off point of the Star Trek Online games. They use this or supernova event as their like. That's where the game starts basically, or it's a big event. I can't remember what year Star Trek Online starts in, like maybe even 10 years after. But whatever happens in Star Trek Online is not going to affect what we see on the new show. Sorry, fans of Star Trek Online. It's a fun game, but it's way too fanficky to ever be put into a movie, into a show or movie. So what I think we'll see is, or what I wouldn't be surprised to see, is using the Horus supernova event and the destruction from Remus to tell a story about refugees. The Romulans having their homeworld has been destroyed, and they're without a home. And the Romulans are not an insignificant power in the Alpha Quadrant. And there's a power vacuum, and I think this would be a really interesting story to tell. It could have very interesting connections with current world events. So it's right there, you know. So that could be a thing, but it might be a little bit too simple. Also, if they want to set a show that is a bit more episodic rather than serialized, just a kind of a counterpoint to Discovery, because Discovery it doesn't sit well with some fans. I loved it. I think it's a great show. It's much more character driven than plot driven, especially once you actually start to dig a little into the characters. There's a lot of cool stuff there, but no mind, this is not a video about Discovery. It's about the new Picard show. So a more serialized show, episodic show could be a good counterpoint or a counterbalance to Discovery. But I don't know how that would play. Old Man Picard as a private citizen, like Foley says, going around and solving random problems. That could be fun too. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's not where I feel this show will likely be going. I quite like the Vulcan refugee crisis and the idea. So, and it's like I said, it's right there in the established soft canon at least. I mean, the comic book is an official prequel to the movie. It's kind of companion piece to the movie, like the Counter to Darkness movie. Comic book is a companion piece to Star Trek Into Darkness, so it's kind of official. Or it's pretty much official. I mean, the events in the movie assume that what happened in the comic book happened. You don't need to know exactly what happened in the comic book to understand the movie, but it's what's there. And I don't see Picard still being captain of the Enterprise 20 years later either. It's I know Kirk really drove the point home to Picard in Generations. Don't let them promote you ever, but I'm sure Starfleet has some guidelines that you can only be captain until you're 80 or something, or 75, or that there's certain age restrictions or physical tests you need to pass to actually still be a captain of a ship, especially one as prestigious as the Enterprise. So, or whatever. In-universe explanation for why not. But we'll see. There's a lot of cool stuff they could mine for this, but I quite like the refugee idea. Again, the question is, can they use this, because it's technically something that originates in a Paramount movie, so CBS would have to ask if they can use this. and not just go and grab it. That merger would have really helped clearing all this annoying stuff up. But, well, it is what it is. And we'll have to deal with it for the time being. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited about the show. It's going to be a long time until we see it. It's at least a year and a half before we see, or at least a year until we see a trailer or anything. So, patience. At least we have Star Trek Discovery and the short tracks to cover us for the time being. But then it's going to be some drought again next spring. But anyway, more Star Trek is good. Yay.